This episode is brought to you by the future. Oatly had experts look into the future, which is totally possible, by the way, and then report back about what things will taste like when we get there. Learn about bold ideas, the dawn of decaf, and the rise of fiber in the Future of Taste report on Oatly.com. Welcome back to the coffee show, everyone. I'm your host, Kirk Pearson. I'm a little bit dusty this morning. I had a couple of beers last night, so I'm feeling, it's not so bad that I'm unable to work and things like that, but you're very aware that you've had a few beers. That's where I'm at.
I know the feeling. Yeah.
And that's kind of where this podcast began during the week. You and I caught up for a couple of frothies during the week. It was a perfect autumn day and we just couldn't help it.
Yeah. No, I think Melbourne's treating us to an extended summer right now. We're getting some great weather.
Yeah, I'm not bad about it. So I'm joined here by Ryan Caisley, who is the what's your job title?
Barista market developer.
Barista market developer. Pull this market touch closer to you.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Barista market developer, and that is. I love how you described your role the other day. You don't really have KPIs and things like that. Your job is to keep the culture going, make sure customers are looked after, and it's not like you're hugely sales driven, which must be nice.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's pretty unique. Like Oatly is, of course, the company I work for. But yeah, it's pretty unique, it seems, within this field, in the industry, to have a role that is like solely based on, we'll call it vibes, and like not very sales driven, which is refreshing because my background was working at coffee roasters doing sales. So it's like sometimes I feel aligned to feel like I want to do that. But actually, you've worked in this industry a long time. So if selling to small business owners is never something that really they want to experience or you want to experience. It's just quite an awkward process because they're super meticulous on what they want to use in their cafes. So they want to find something for themselves. So you kind of have to be the person to let them find it. Totally naturally.
Well, I've been the cold calling sales guy, and it's a tough job because I think like 95 times out of 100 you get rejected. Dealing in sales is a tough gig. I applaud the guys that do it. I respect it, but I just can't stand it when people are. If I'm a cafe owner now, right? I just can't stand it when people like try and hard sell me when I'm working because I've got 101 things to focus on. I don't want to buy you whatever it is.
100%.
So it's tough. But anyway, leading into the podcast, we're going to talk about why coffee is becoming mainstream today. So this is a conversation you and I kind of began on Wednesday night, I believe it was, and something I thought, geez, there's a whole podcast in this. I wanted to talk about it. Before we get into that, I want to let everyone know about, by now one of the Oatly ads will have played. So, we're joined by Ryan Casey from Oatly. So let them know about the sponsors. So Oatly being one of them. Thank you for supporting the podcast and supplying me with the oat milk and the oat cream, which we'll get into a little bit later.
Sure.
And then of course, Apex Lab. I always call them Apex Labs, but I got to stop. It's Apex Lab. So they're one of the key sponsoring partners for the podcast. And for a limited time only, you can get 10% off your order if you use the code KIRK2026 at the checkout. And I've got some content coming about how to use Apex Lab products a lot better, or in a way that suits you at home or the cafe. And so I really encourage you to do it. KIRK2026 is the code. You should buy some. It's very good. My favorite profile is probably tonic at the moment. Have you ever used it?
Yeah, I've used it in your stores.
Okay.
And yeah, I can say it's definitely, I saw your life hack the other day where you added some salt to a coffee whilst you was in an airport
Yes.
Yeah.
That's when you're real desperate and you don't have
I was going to say,
Apex.
it's like, that is such an entry level to what this is, which is like, hyper focused on elevating certain elements, right?
But I was kicking myself because usually I'd have a thing of Apex with me. So I really do travel with it. And then, of course, Barista Group. So Barista Group supply us with some of the machines. So it's an Australian-based company. So if you're an Australian-based coffee shop owner, get in touch with Barista Group. You can get some grinders. Their best machine, I think, is like my favorite thing that they supply is the Uber Milk, which they've got a version now which can do oat milk, and I think we'll talk about this a bit later because I think having that multifunction system in a cafe is very good. So baristagroup.com, just go and see Joe. Get the machinery, save yourself some money if you're a cafe owner, and it'll all be fine. But now let's get into the creme de la creme, the podcast. And we were kind of talking about the other day where coffee's kind of becoming mainstream in a way. Like a lot of celebrities and things like that are getting into coffee culture, and it kind of has this weird convergence. Coffee does with sort of Hollywood celebrities, singers, sports stars, and a lot of them are getting into the coffee industry. And you're someone that's been pretty highly exposed to it because you used to work in London. So why do you think it is, generally speaking, that these sort of well-known people are firstly identifying coffee and then wanting to be a part of it?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's not strictly exclusive to them. You know, it seems to be a theme throughout my whole life that you notice of people who are customers of cafes, who drink coffee regularly, want to end up doing their own coffee project. I think the benefit of being a celebrity or a sports athlete or whatever, you have a lot of money, you have a lot of funding to be able to do that. And so they're interested. And I think, it's sometimes of a roll of a dice. Maybe they already have a good background and understanding of the industry, but sometimes they don't. And then it is all about the team that you build. But yeah, I think really the pull is the cafe experience. People go and have that experience and they see people enjoying it. And a good cafe makes it look easy. And that's probably the key link there, is that people have that experience and thought there was nothing complicated about that. I went in, I was there for 5 minutes, and that made my day better. So they leave thinking, I would love to be able to do something like that. And as someone who owns a cafe, you know that it's not easy. It takes a lot of work to make it look easy, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of hard work. And I applaud the people that get into it, even if they are coming from this position where they do have some, a bit more money, because it's certainly not an easy thing to do. It's definitely a labor of passion and love. But I think one of the coolest anecdotes I can provide here around this, and this is why I think you're so well positioned to talk about it, is I was watching Justice League a few months ago. Just sitting in bed, I was really unwell this week. And so I decided to watch the Justice League Zack Snyder cut. It took a lot of campaigning to get the Snyder cut released. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching the scene as Lois Lane is kind of, mourning, I guess, Superman after he's passed.
Yeah, I think that's what's going on there.
Yeah. And she walks into a coffee shop and orders a cappuccino, and there he is, Ryan Caisley, as in you, making coffee for Amy Adams in Justice League. How did that come about?
Yeah, it's a funny scenario. I mean, it was a working set, actually. I mean, we'll go back. So I grew up on the outskirts of London, and very near to where I grew up was the Warner Brothers Studios. And that is where they film a lot of things from Hollywood. It was a lot cheaper. They're still using it a lot now. And this would have been, we're going back maybe 12 years ago. And I was working at my friend's cafe, Fred and Ginger Coffee. Little shout out to those guys. They were the people that introduced me to coffee. Really was my first, we were pulling shots using a scale, but we were manually dosing the espresso by eye. You give it 2-3 seconds of blonding and you stop it, and it's the whole thing. But the coffee was really good there. These days they've managed to adopt the more modern methods of brewing. But I remember one morning this guy would come in, and it happened across the course of a week. He was in a suit. He had a very nice Mercedes out the front, and he was always getting like 6 takeaway coffees, but he was by himself. And you get chatting as you do in a cafe, and asked him eventually like, oh, who are these coffees going to? And he said, oh, I work at Warner Brothers Studios. And I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. Who's drinking the coffees? And he said, oh, just, you might not have heard of him. His name's Zack Snyder. And I was like, yeah, the movie director. He was like, yeah. So that was wicked. So a few days go by. He keeps coming in, as in I don't know what his job was, but this random dude. And then about a week later, Zack Snyder just walks into the cafe, and I was kind of blown away seeing him walk in. But we're in a very small, suburban town on the outskirts of London. Nobody knew who he was there. I was probably the only one. And he comes in and he's really enjoying the cafe, sitting in the corner, sketching on his iPad. And I remember he's like showing us some parts of the film that they're yet to film. And he's sketching out the scene and he says, look at this. And it was supposed to be generic cafe that they're in, but he'd taken the logo from the cafe we were working at the time and put it all in the scene. And that was really fun. It was just a funny kind of anecdotal moment. But then another week goes by and the cafe gets a call from Warner Brothers Studios Hollywood. And they're like, hey, we really want to use your logo in the film. We want you guys to sign off on it. Of course, we'll pay you for it and all of that jazz. And so they said, yes, that'd be great. And the final kind of part of the puzzle was that Zack Snyder came in 2 weeks before they filmed. And at this point, he'd kind of become friends of the cafe. And he was chatting to the owners and he said, I want to use all of you guys in this scene. We're going to build a replica cafe. We're going to uplift your machine from site, bring it into Warner Brothers Studios, put it in the cafe, and then we want you guys to have a working set for all of the staff. So we just went and did our job in a cafe on set. And it was a really fun day. Obviously, throughout the day of us making coffee, we'd had people like Amy Adams walk in and film her scene. And that's when you see me hand her the coffee. And if you have the subtitles on, I did have a little line. I think it's "That's $5, please." So I'm the "That's $5, please" guy.
£5 or $5
Well, it would have been USD, and
or
I think she
five
gets
Metropolis dollars.
Yeah, who knows? And she gets 2 coffees, $5. It seems cheap. I mean, what year was this? 2013, 2014, I think we filmed it.
Yeah.
But it didn't come out until years later. But
Okay.
But yeah, it was a crazy moment. And I think that's just probably just a pretty hilarious example of what we were talking about, the scenarios that coffee can get you into, you know. Everyone seems to go to a cafe no matter what industry they're in, and you strike up conversations with them and it opens interesting doors.
Yeah. And this is why I call you Zack Schneider's personal barista. Ryan cops that from me all the time. But yeah, it is interesting the way it finds itself into certain scenarios. Like, for example, I'm friends with a guy called Zach Stubletti Cook, and he's an Olympic gold medalist. And I remember seeing a Instagram post of Cody Simpson, who's like obviously a very well-known Australian singer, also an Olympic level athlete. He got into swimming for a few years there, and he's posting a story about, Zach's always got the best beans, and he had packets of coffee from Coffee Collective and all these sorts of things. So yeah, it creeps itself in, and that's probably one of the reasons why it does, right? Because it's for one, it's healthy. It's something you can consume daily, even if you're an athlete, and it probably only boosts your performance. And like that's probably one of the reasons why it kind of is approached mainstream, because everyone in the world can almost universally drink it, with few exceptions. Like, I don't know, some people are probably sensitive to it, people who are pregnant, those types of examples. But it's also very affordable, relatively speaking. Like you can have a coffee or two every day and it's still within your budget reasonably if you go out to a cafe, or even if you make it at home. But you compare that with alcohol or beer, where it's not actually really good for you physically. I mean, mentally, nothing wrong with a couple of beers every now and then.
Bit of both.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword.
I mean, I don't want to hound beer too much here, but it's not as good for you. It's more costly to drink alcohol, particularly here in Australia, where it's taxed quite heavily, and it doesn't boost your performance. Like, if you're an athlete, you can't be drinking beers before the 100-meter breaststroke gold medal race. So, would you agree with those sentiments?
Definitely like the most affordable luxury in terms of like food, I think. It's like the amount of hands it touches to go from plant to cut to what we experience in a cafe even, and that level of service. And you end up paying in Australia as well. Like, coffee's so cheap, like it's kind of crazy how cheap it is to go and get one of the best flat whites you might have globally. And you'll go and you'll pay $4 maybe. And, it blows my mind still. But yeah, I think you're right. And it is super accessible to us who live in, I suppose, the luxuries of the Western world and that experience. But yeah, definitely.
Can I just hone in on something there? You raise a good point. And I'm sorry to regular listeners who hear me harp on about this all the time, but you noted, you said something there about Australia being very affordable compared to other countries, right? And I don't think the common consumer would realize that Australia has the cheapest coffee in the developed world. We always whinge about it when it's $7, it makes the news. As someone who's worked as a barista in London, you go back there regularly. Say for example, a coffee in Australia is about $6 on average now, right? For a flat white. What would that same coffee cost in London?
Yeah, I mean, like £5 a minimum.
So it's 10 Australian dollars.
Easily. Yeah.
So we've got it really good here. Incredibly good. And I just don't think Australians really realise that.
No, and it's not going to last. Like, enjoy it whilst you can, because I think we'll look back maybe in 5 years and go, yeah, can you imagine if we were still paying that much for a coffee, And it is like, yeah, it's excellent. So, yeah. But, that is interesting that, we were talking as well about the coffee scene as a whole. And Australia does have its reputation for being like the best. And I think that is proved to me time and time again when I go and have these cafe experiences. But other places in the world are kind of climbing the ladder as well. And there's really good things happening in great cafes and roasters across Europe. There's so many interesting things. I can't say I've experienced too much of the North American cafe scene, but there's even influence happening here. There's a cafe in Brunswick, Cumbe. If you've been there, it's like basically a coffee roaster in Mexico City, and they've now opened a place here in Melbourne. And the idea it was an interesting cultural trade-off because Rafa, the owner, he opened that place in Mexico City first to try and bring the Melbourne coffee experience to Mexicans, because he had spent a lot of time in Melbourne and thought, this is amazing. It doesn't happen in Mexico City. Let's try and do that. And he did that and it went really well. But now that cultural exchange is kind of flipping because he's opened a cafe here in Melbourne and people are loving it because, yes, you get the good coffee experience, but it's also, Mexican tortas and these things that people are now fascinated on the sort of flip side of it.
And that's one of the things I hate that people want all cafes to kind of be the same sometimes. And I think that's just the worst. I love seeing other people inject their own flavor into it, like what you're mentioning of this Mexican style cafe. There's Ageo coffee that's heavily influenced by the owner's Ethiopian roots.
True, in Fitzroy. Yeah,
and of course, Ethiopia being the birthplace of coffee, that's a huge addition to the coffee scene. And then, we were talking before about Core Coffee, and that's one of my favorite places to drink coffee in Melbourne now. And the owner is just like, he's an outrageous nerd about coffee, and does things that I could never be bothered to do. Working out the pressure profile of making the world's best long black, which he does. Like the world's best long black is at Core Coffee in Brunswick East in Melbourne. Go there and try one.
It's mad. And go and try the pastries because Danny, the other co-owner, Danny and Michael own it together. Danny's pastry making is outrageous.
Yeah, exceptional.
The best sausage roll I think I've ever had in my life I had from that place.
Yeah, they had this mango sticky rice Danish there one time. I was like, bring
so
it back,
good,
please.
So good.
I could talk about them all day. But and that's, to round off the point, I think, everyone doing things a little bit differently is actually hugely to our benefit. And if there's someone you like, you can regularly go there. You don't have to chastise coffee shops for not all doing the same thing. For some reason, I like to read the reviews of coffee shops. I get a kick out of it. And I was reading the reviews for Patricia Coffee one time, and this lady was just teeing off on them because they didn't have a mocha. And I was like, I can get why that would be mildly frustrating, but it's also a good opportunity for you to try something new.
People don't like to try things new on their coffees. They want what they know, But actually, we could maybe as a good segue here, because we're talking about that kind of cafes that offer a different experience, that cultural exchange, which is something that we really worked on our lookbook, which is something we have at Oatly. I don't know if we're getting around to that, but I think it's a good point because the lookbook was all designed around the cultural exchange. I think internally we're calling it a global cultural exchange. And we did a lot of work with our team across all of the coffee capitals of the world, maybe we'll call them. But we have about 50, 60 of us that do my job. And we, as a result, are connected to all the major coffee cities in the world and what they're doing and what trends are happening. And so we collated all of that information and we managed to kind of understand maybe where certain trends are happening, what consistencies are happening between markets. And that informs us into what the lookbook is, which is essentially just a collection of recipes, very beautifully photographed, with the recipes placed on the other side of the page. And it's a nice opportunity for a cafe to use it, to be able to put a drink on their menu, because we all know that signature drinks is something that's become so popular in the specialty coffee industry. And people want to do them because, you know, you can charge a bit more for them. People are willing to pay more for them because they're creative, they're tasty, maybe caffeinated as well. You know, there's all of those fun elements. But often cafes just don't have the time or the resource to be able to sit down and come up with a new drink. So we kind of wanted to try and bridge that gap and say, let us help you. So the lookbook's there to either say, yes, I want to make this exact drink, let's do it. And, you know, the recipe, you can find it online. We have like the whole thing uploaded so you can see all the recipes.
So you just go to Oatly's website and type in the lookbook.
Exactly right.
And you know what I like about it? You've got it's seasonal. So you've got like a winter one and a summer one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And that was the kind of move at the beginning. The third one, which we released a week ago in April, we essentially have tried to break the mold of moving away from the seasonality of it, because actually what we realized, maybe you know this from running the cafe, but like people don't stick to seasonal drinks within the seasons they're in. What I mean by that is just iced coffee or iced drinks. They're drunk all year round, you know?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I think Dunkin' in the US now sells more iced coffee than they do hot coffee. And this is a country that it experiences huge weather fluctuation between seasons. Like, you know, you got snow and you know, really hot weather as well. What I find interesting about the lookbook, actually, and regular listeners to this podcast will know, I actually attended the latest lookbook launch in Berlin last year.
Yeah.
So, you know, shout out to Oatly. And it was very fascinating because obviously sustainability is a huge part of what you guys do as well, but also I think beyond what other, I guess, companies that supply the coffee industry understand, Oatly has a really good understanding of, you're right, where trends are going, and identifying those things. And, you know, because you're a global company as well, it's you know, you've got a really good qualitative data and information too. But yeah, some of the drinks on that are fascinating. And if I actually find making signature drinks really challenging myself, it's hard work, because it's a skill set in and of itself. And that's why I think mixologists tend to thrive really well in this. You look at Good Measure, the now infamous cafe in Melbourne. They're actually a bunch of bartenders that went and cut their teeth in. I think they were working in Japan prior to opening Good Measure. And they're doing fantastically well now. But they have, if you go to that cafe, it's not really by accident. They're really equipped as a bar. They've built they're so much more than just a coffee shop nowadays. And they wouldn't be able to, I think they make it close to 1,000 Mont Blancs a day now, right?
Yeah.
Which is just
depending on the weather. Yeah.
just incredible.
Yeah.
But they actually have the system to be able to deliver that, because they're so experienced with not only just coffee, but cocktail making as well. That's effectively what it is. It's like a non-alcoholic cocktail. And they do an incredible job.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's like I would implore you to go there and experience it as a bar. Like if you haven't, like go in the evenings and try their cocktails. I think like what they do in the daytime with the Mont Blanc is excellent. People love it. That's always going to be popular because they've nailed the recipe. They've nailed a drink. You can also get the oat one. A little shout out to that. But yeah, in the evenings you go and you get this other experience and realize that, yeah, they are really talented at curating a drink experience. And that's all it is. And it kind of bleeds into coffee. It bleeds into alcohol and cocktails and non-alcoholic cocktails, which are essentially what SIG drinks kind of are, like you say. But yeah, and Melbourne's actually becoming quite synonymous with that, I'm noticing as well. There's a lot of places that are offering that kind of bespoke drink experience. There's Wax Flower up in Brunswick. They are a wicked wine bar, but some of the drinks they put on their menu is just like, they're beautiful to look at. Excellent collaborations. The flavor profiles are amazing. And, it seems to just all blend into one drink experience now rather than this is solely a cafe or this is solely a wine bar.
And isn't it funny how the internet just fuels it as there's this business in Melbourne called Cali Bakery. It's in Carlton. And they, at some stage last year, I can't remember what the occasion was, but they made a signature drink where it was basically a croissant cut in half and filled with hot chocolate and topped with like marshmallow and cream. It kind of looked like that plus the Ned Flanders hot chocolate from the Simpsons movie.
Yeah.
And there was a line like 300 meters long, borderline dangerous because like people are spilling out onto the road and cars can't like drive. And I was like, all this for one drink, and that happens weekly at a new shop, like almost every week. And it's fueled by, I think that like Instagram is one of the platforms, TikTok is one, but I think the biggest one is actually the Chinese app Redbook or Rednote, whatever it's called. We experienced that a little bit ourselves at our shop because we had this peach flavored cold brew and it went bananas on Rednote. And kind of getting back into the theme of the podcast where, coffee's becoming mainstream. I think these kind of things, like sometimes I really despise social media and its impact on the coffee industry. But sometimes you really just have to recognize the positive impact it's having as well, right?
For sure. And cities these days, talking about it the other day, I can't remember who, but we were talking about this idea of like tourism is changing and how people interact with cities when they travel. Before I was thinking of like when I was 18 and I would go to a European city, I would use the Lonely Planet, I think they were called, like tour guide books. And this was my information. And they would recommend to go, if you're in Porto, go to this place for a pastel de nata, But then you go there and that place is closed down and it doesn't keep up, So what's become really useful is having social media to like, okay, what was popular yesterday? I can see exactly what, and this place, and it's open today because here are the hours and all that jazz. But that's then curating people's experience of a city. Because people come to Melbourne and yes, they want to go to the NGV. Yes, they want to go to a game at the MCG. But also what they're doing is they're going to the iconic food or drink moments of Melbourne to have the right drink, the right sandwich, the right, you name it, So yeah.
Yeah, this is where influencers I think have been largely beneficial and positive. I really don't like seeing influencers post negative reviews because no one really needs your honesty.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And
actually.
it's not like you can't be on 100% of the time as a business. And if you're going in and like anonymously getting a sandwich and someone, is new and hasn't put it together correctly or put the right sauce on or whatever, and you post a really negative review that hurts the business, I don't like seeing that. And I got to get on one here while we're on the subject about Google reviews. I actually think they're becoming detrimental to cafes now. It's a negative for cafes because they're being weaponized more than ever. I'm seeing a lot of businesses get 1-star reviews, which is, I don't think people realize the impact that has
so damaging
on a venue because not only do people see it and make a decision on whether or not to go there, it's hugely, hugely damaging to the morale of not only the staff, but the business owner. And it's like, there's a business in Melbourne, Lumen People, that got review bombed randomly very recently in the last 2 weeks. And people that I think the owners are confident that they haven't actually been into the venue, or just like people just leaving savage reviews for the most benign things. Like anything other than a 5-star review is hurting a business. Like if you think you're being cool and it's like, oh, you got to really earn my 5-star review, like just don't fucking leave a review. Like just keep your opinion to yourself.
Yeah,
like,
it's so damaging.
Yeah,
right?
like anything other than a 5-star review hurts a business. So like, yeah, like for me, the use case for a 1-star review is something criminal or borderline criminal or something extremely improper has happened. Like it's there for a reason, but like, you're not liking something, you shouldn't leave a 1-star review. You're hugely hurting a business and damaging it. So like, honestly, I I'd like to see even Google reviews gone because I think the privilege is like you should or they should be verified.
Yeah,
you should have to
true.
verify one star review because it's now bordering into to sort of silly territory.
Yeah, it's like it needs a mediator or something, right? Like there's definitely, it's not a perfect system because it can, that review bomb, shout out Lumen, by the way, that place is excellent. So who knows what happened there, but it is, you're right. It's like, because I use Google star reviews, when you're in a city you don't know and you're trying to gauge where to go, like unless you've asked friends, that's the number one review, right? You just ask people, where should I go? And someone will tell you and so on. But yeah, like my biggest tool is to share my maps with someone. You know, like if somebody comes to Melbourne, maybe I can't be with them, hang out. It's like, oh, here's my Google Maps and like everywhere I've saved and just, give places a go. But barring that, you do kind of revert to the star system. And yeah, you're exactly right.
But and like, I guess it's there for a reason, but I think it's being misused now. And if you do have like an experience that's not that bad, but it wasn't up to your standard, like tell your friends, tell your family, don't go there and just move on. You don't need to go damaging a business. And I just think that happens far too much these days. And I don't like to see it. I don't like to see it.
No.
But anyway, getting back to the core of what we were talking about, which is kind of coffee becoming more mainstream and interestingly, like a lot of notable celebrities have gotten into the industry in the last few years. I think the biggest entry has been Jimmy Butler, the NBA star. Yeah. And I think his impact on the coffee industry has been overwhelmingly positive. Some people would probably look at it through a negative lens and think, oh, this guy with all this money getting into coffee while other people are struggling. And I don't think that's a legitimate perspective relating to him because I think he's actually invited so many more people into the industry and it's been to everyone's benefit. So I think it's been a largely positive impact.
Yeah, I suppose so. I suppose that is the key of it, right? Is as any of us try to do is to like bring new people into the industry. That's what's good about the coffee industry as a whole as well, is that it is inclusive. As something that's kept me gravitating around the industry my whole professional career is that I enjoy that element of it and that it's welcoming. If you're a new person to coffee and you go to a cafe and you want to work and you show that you have the initiative and I'm interested, but I know nothing, that's actually like the best person to bring into the industry because it's like, okay, we'd love to show you, And yeah, that happens in the cafe consumer experience as well. I love when I bring my friends who don't work in the coffee industry to some of my favorite cafes and they're just kind of blown away by the experience. And it's like, yeah, you have to pinch yourself sometimes and remember, because we work in the industry, you forget how good of an experience these people are actually delivering.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're there like being not critical, but like hyper aware of, a layer deeper of the experience they're curating in terms of what equipment they've got or whatever. But most people just go and it's surface level. It's just the engagement with the person serving them and then the taste. It's like senses, right? That's the only thing that you're experiencing. And that's what's cool. It's like you've got anyone opening a cafe, bringing new people into it. And that creates more, more business for us.
Yeah.
Just more people want to have that experience.
Who would you say, working in London, it's a city where many well-known people transit through.
Yeah.
Who are some of the most notable people you served in your time?
Yeah.
If you can disclose.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, I used to be the manager of a cafe in Shoreditch. It was Origin Coffee. And they, just that location where we were, you'd have a lot of people come through, Well, I remember Tom Holland would come in a fair few times. That was kind of crazy. And then you'd have Keira Knightley would come in. There was like a lot of famous people that would come in to the point where, at first you're a little bit like, oh, you're like mega celebrity A-lister. But then it's that humbling cafe experience of they're just coming in to get a flat white and really all you want to do, once you're locked in on work mode is you're just delivering an experience. So it's actually, I find the easiest way to meet a celebrity is when I'm stood behind a bar because you just revert to your job. You just do your job.
Yeah.
There's no, like a little part of you wants to be like, oh my God, you're that person. But yeah, it's really interesting to have those experiences. Living in a city like London where you do end up brushing shoulders with a lot of high profile celebrities, we'll call them.
I made coffee for the Prime Minister one time of Australia.
Yeah, no way.
It was Scott Morrison. He ordered a skinny flat white, but I didn't like him, so I made it on full fat. It wasn't bad. Nice. But anyway, I was doing a radio job, and he was there, and just g'day. He was nice enough in person, very pleasant. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Eric Banner was probably the nicest guy I've made coffee for.
True.
He was in Troy, the movie, and he was the Incredible Hulk. And Chopper. Have you watched Chopper?
No, I haven't.
Very quintessential Australian film. And The Castle. Have you seen The Castle?
The Castle I have.
The Castle,
hilarious.
One of the and he plays a guy named Con, who's Mr. Kerrigan. I'm very disenchanted with Australia's legal system. I always say that line, but yeah, it's there's so many well-known people that are getting into it now, and I think there was an experience recently where this gentleman named Zach Tallender, who's an American musician, came through to Australia. He started posting these videos.
I saw these.
That went very viral in Melbourne of him having coffee, and he was basically explaining he couldn't get a bad one. And he actually came to my shop, which was interesting. So yeah, the culture and these people they get around it every time they come here. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, totally agree. It's like, it's that ultimate leveler, right? Just going to a cafe. Everyone seems to do it. And so, you seem to meet everyone if you work in a cafe, right?
Yeah, going back to this sort of celebrity thing of them creating brands, right? Like, I think the origin story of Jimmy Butler's, he's got his brand Big Face now, and it all started when he was during the COVID pandemic. The NBA, the National Basketball Association, they created a bubble so they could keep the league going. It was a COVID bubble, so you had to quarantine to get in. And basically the players all stayed at, I think it was Disney World or something like that in Orlando.
Hilarious.
And they all had their rooms and stuff like that. And Jimmy Butler took a La Marzocco coffee machine and a bunch of filter coffee making equipment, and he put a sign up on his window saying Big Face Coffee. I think it was $100 a pop. Might have even been $1,000. All those NBA players have so much money they can afford it. And that was like that was how it all began for him. And then I think it just spiraled into this other thing. It's like, heck, I'm going to get into the industry. And I think their business is doing really, really well. So like, I don't think you can just get into the industry and not care and be successful. That's just not how coffee works.
Doesn't happen, hey.
But
even with all the money, it just doesn't happen.
But they've done incredibly well. They've been incredibly successful, and they've got some good people in their organization as well. So I think they're set up for a very long-term success.
Yeah, love it. How good.
And not only that, like they use really good coffee. Like they got to give credit to them. Like you look at their list and it's like all very, very good. So no, I applaud him for doing it. Another guy's Cooper Kupp. So he's a wide receiver. Coop. Wide receiver for currently the Seattle Seahawks, was for the Los Angeles Rams. And what an end of the career he's having. So,
True.
He had a
Super Bowl last year.
One of the best wide receivers ever, really. He won the Triple Crown for receptions, touchdowns, and receiving yards one year. And then a Super Bowl with the Rams. Gets released and then gets picked up by the Seahawks. First year on the Seahawks roster. Super Bowl, baby. Done really well.
Yeah. I mean, I still am sad as a Vikings fan that we let Sam Darnold go for him to win the Super Bowl at the Seahawks next year.
That's got to be one of the biggest L's in the history of the NFL. Because he played so well when he was at the Vikings.
He did.
Had this incredible roster with Justin Jefferson, really good offensive line, and then pretty good defense as well. They had, I think,
Brian Flores. Yeah.
Brian Flores running the defensive coordinator job there, doing a really great job. But yeah, that's a kick in the teeth.
Yeah, it's tough. Tough life being a Vikings fan.
Well, yeah, I'm a Texans fan, and we're just so lopsided on the defense. Where we've got Danielle Hunter's come over and he's just a monster of a human being. Have you seen his arms? I don't even know how people get so buff.
No idea.
He's a monster. And then we've got Will Anderson, who's one of the best pass rushers in the league now. Just got signed to a $50 million a year contract. Can you believe that?
Hectic. I kind of can, yes. Yeah. You see the attendance at some of these games. You see where the money's funneled in,
Yeah.
It's mad.
Man, Will Anderson, if you getting into the coffee industry, you got the capital.
For sure.
But yeah, they're so lopsided. We need some good. I think we've got great receivers as well. We've got a good quarterback. Just need some offensive line, play. And I think we're right.
Yeah.
How are you feeling for the Vikings this year?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's good to keep expectations low. So long as Justin Jefferson's there, we're great to watch. But, I can't. Yeah, like we're just in one of the toughest divisions. Like
you are.
We've got the Lions are always a team that's going to perform. And
they're just so fun to watch now as well. Such a dynamic offense. They have the best offensive line in the league, and just like for the style of quarterback they have, who's really exclusively a pocket quarterback. So meaning if you don't know what we're talking about, we'll get off the subject shortly. he can't run. He's not a great runner, so he can't evade people that are trying to tackle him. He's purely passer, and they built the team around that. And they're doing really well.
Yeah, they are. Dan Campbell. I hate him, but you got to respect him.
Yeah, he's turned that franchise around. Turn that franchise right around. I wanted to talk a little bit about sustainability while we're talking about this topic, because it was probably one of the key things I noticed on my trip to Berlin. So obviously, Oatly being an oat milk company is focused on sustainability, but shortly after my trip to Berlin, I went to Copenhagen, and in Copenhagen, in almost like not the middle of the CBD, but like very much part of the city, is a giant waste burning site that converts, that to electricity. And I don't know how they filter the air, but it's very clean. And they've got it, and it looks quite good. They've managed to integrate it into the city really well. And in winter, they convert it into a skiing slope. And it just makes me wonder, why don't we have those here in Australia? Like it's just we don't need to be creating more landfill. I'm sure there is a waste product, but it would be condensed down or distilled down considerably from what it is before it's burnt. And they've got them in Sweden as well. Sweden imports rubbish.
Yeah, true.
And
when countries start taking other countries' rubbish, it's like they've figured something out.
Yeah.
And I guess the question becomes is who funds them, right? And that's why a lot of it doesn't happen, because so much of like waste management is privatized, and so it requires almost a company to innovate. And what's the incentive for them if it's going to cost them a lot and there's not a guarantee in return? That's kind of the tough part of it. So then it needs to be government that enforces the policies to insist that we correctly break down, recycle, reuse these things. That's something that an issue that, lots of companies run into. And we deal with this regularly as a business. We have opted to use Tetra Pak in our packaging of the product, because actually there are lots of ways for it to be correctly disassembled, recycled. But that's not consistent on every country globally, which is why places like Sweden do import more trash from other countries, because they do have the means and the abilities to do it. It's a tough thing when you operate. When like a company like ours, there are lots of companies that do this, that have a product that is used globally, and you need consistency on that product. What isn't consistent is how the product's used within those countries, particularly after, the disposal. So it's a tough thing to manage. Yeah.
One thing I found interesting, so I went to Sweden in 2016, 10 years ago now. Wow. And one thing that struck me back then was that they've got, at the end of like each street sort of thing, not too far of a walk away, they've got, I think might be like 6 different recycling bins. And, the people go and there's one for glass, there's one for cardboard, there's one for, probably Tetra Pak, whatever. One for, I think, metals, etc. There's various. And civilly, they're just culturally, I guess, disciplined in adhering to it.
You learn when you grow up, right?
Yeah. And my girlfriend at the time, who I was with, explained to me that like if someone sees you putting something in the wrong bin, they'll come and scold you. So you got to make sure you're get drilled. And we just introduced a glass bin here in Melbourne. So we've got general waste, green waste, recycling, and now a glass bin. And I think when that first started, people were losing their minds. But it's like it's so minuscule compared to what they do over in Scandinavia, who obviously lead the world in this kind of stuff.
There's a part of so many countries that needs an entire overhaul if we really want to see some actual change. But I suppose, really all we can do individually is just like as consumers make conscious decisions and ensure that anything you purchase, you understand the knock-on effects of what that is and what influence it has and so on. So yeah, it's like that's what we can do. But the truth is there needs to be like more options for us, because as a consumer, you only have the options that are around you, like what bins Melbourne City Council decide to put so that they're available for us to use. I can't myself take a product and break it down in a way that, only a certain kind of specific plant could.
But it's sad how sustainability worldwide is really not top of mind at all anymore. And it is understandable in a way, like, cost of living, this current conflict in the Middle East. It's just, and a combination of things since the beginning of COVID, really. Sustainability is just not really on a big part of the agenda now. And suffice to say, like, say, for example, people are just opposed to the way we generate electricity. We'll put that to the side. I think everyone can get behind wanting to reuse materials. And there's like, I think no matter what sort of political ideology you have or whatever, like there's merit in that. And I think a lot of people see the value in it. Like we can all be united on thinking, yeah, reusing thing is a very bold and noble thing to do. And I just hope that we don't sort of forget about it completely in the context of the current, global situation.
Definitely. And this links back, right, to like, if we put it into the industry we work in, it's just like how can a cafe make more conscious decisions and what can they do? And I think, a lot of business owners the bottom line for them is making sure they have enough money to pay their staff and keep the doors open, keep the lights on, and keep bringing a good coffee experience. And sometimes what comes ahead of that is making decisions that keep you afloat rather than decisions that are, maybe morally aligned for your views on recycling and so on. It's tough, and people just need to be given more affordable options. And so that's what these bigger companies should do.
And coffee's in a really unique place to support this kind of, reuse thought of mine. So, for example, like coffee grinds, there is an unlimited amount of it produced in this city we're in right now every week. And we have to effectively pay to get rid of it, right? That is a resource that can be used for so many different things. Apparently it can be used for making biofuel now. It can be used for fertilizer. It can be used for growing mushrooms, and it can be used to make like stronger reinforced concrete. And we produce tons of it a week in Melbourne. I got to give a shout out to Reground here because that's one company that does incredible work here in Australia, and I need to get on the podcast actually. And additionally, Single O, based up in Sydney, who kind of I think are probably lead the sustainability movement in coffee in Australia. But that is just a resource that, come on guys, we can turn into so much more. And if it needs to be made simple for people, like if there's a scheme where it gets picked up for free in Melbourne and transformed to these other things, A, you've got unlimited supply to go and make products that you can go and on sell. But B, it's just like it's so wasted in landfill. It can be used for fertilizer, and you think of fertilizer in the current global context, where there's a shortage of it now because of the disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz. There's so much here. We should be using it, and I hope that we can get better at using that in the future.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I used to work in a cafe where we had a farmer that would come in once a week and collect we'd keep the coffee grounds in a big bin for him. He'd come and collect it, take it away. It was every Sunday. And, he reached out to us just to be like, maybe he was using it a lot on his farm. So he reached out to a bunch of local cafes and he'd just go and collect it on Sundays. So maybe like those opportunities do exist outside of like big kind of corporate companies, maybe there are opportunities to reach out to a local farm and just say, hey, we're a business, we have this. And, sometimes that will be a big incentive for the farm. They actually want that and they'll come and get it. It's really no skin off your back as a cafe just to keep it in a bin in the back of, rather than empty it into one bin, just empty it into another one that gets collected. Maybe those opportunities exist,
Yeah, and I think there's a sensible middle here where it can be made easier for cafe owners. It can be made easier for consumers. No one needs to really feel shame for this or that around it. Like there's so much opportunity in the space where it's like, it'll never work if it's something that we have to put a whole lot of effort into, and it becomes a strain.
Yeah.
It'll just never work. It needs to be made easy for people. And so I think there is a huge opportunity to do that. And if you're a company, right, that wants to get involved in this space and you're hearing this and you're thinking, gosh, I want to take advantage of that opportunity, get in touch, right? I want to help you promote it because it's a hugely important endeavor. And yeah, it's like we can create reuse. I'm really fascinated. I think it was at RMIT, the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology. I should get the professor on here. I think I've reached out to him, but I need to follow that up. And they really do turn it into biofuel. And one of the most interesting uses I found was, I think there was a startup over in WA. They used it to grow like mushrooms that people eat, and it's like world-class mushrooms. I wonder if they were like coffee-flavored mushrooms. Have to check it out. And then, the reinforced concrete as well. Like they use it to make like strong, really good concrete. So we got to do it. We got to do it. I really hope that we can. What's news in your world? So what's the next few months entail for Ryan Caisley, Zach Schneider's personal barista?
Just keep the fun events coming for the city of Melbourne and all the cafes within it. My job at Oatly does mean that I get to have this rarefied opportunity to bring a lot of fun events to the Melbourne coffee industry. We had one just last month that was like a futsal tournament, five-a-side football tournament, which a bunch of roasters got involved in. And it's really nice to like try and bring that community as close together as we can because, coffee roasters, they do get very caught up in their own world naturally. There's a never-ending list of jobs. Same for cafes. You just constantly have things to do. There's always repairs to be done, ways to better it. And sometimes people don't get opportunities to engage in the coffee community as much as they want. So I'm just want to continue trying to bring those opportunities to people, with no bias and nothing over it. Like you don't have to work with Oatly if you want to come to our events. That's great. Just come along and have fun. That's really the end goal. So lots more of that. I'm actually off to the UK next month. Not for work. That's just for a friend's wedding, but should be nice. Good time of year to go to London in May. I'm sure I'll catch up with some of the Oatly crew over there. It's always interesting to hear what's going on. Like the UK is one of our biggest markets. Oatly is very popular there. So it's always interesting to see how they're trying to, create events for their communities there and the coffee industry there.
Well, this would be the one bone I have to pick with Oatly as a company because over in Europe, you've got some of the most best useful products available. Like I'm big on the oat cream and I've told you and Giovanni about this a bunch of times. Like I love using it for making curries, but also we use it for making our oat matcha down in the cafe. The best thing you can do to make your oat matcha better is to use oat cream. I'm telling you now, like the oat cream, one of the most underused products in cafe culture today, but honestly it should be used more. But you've got you've got so much over in Europe that we don't get it here in Australia yet. I'm hoping that one day we can. One day the demand's there. But that whippable oat cream, god damn.
So good.
We need that over here, bro.
The creme fraiche. I mean, I miss that stuff
and
too.
the matcha in poppers.
True.
Bro.
The Oatly matcha.
Yeah.
That's one of our newest products. And you can get the little 200ml cartons to drink, or you can get a 1 litre one to use in your cafe. But not yet on the shores of Australia.
Not yet.
We hope that can happen.
Is that a snippet? Is that a teaser?
Let's hope so.
Okay.
Let's hope so. Yeah. Right. Watch this space.
Yeah. All right. Well, while you're over in London, make sure you go to Special Guests Coffee. I think that's one of the best coffee shops I've been to ever.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Paul Ross with that place. It's a wicked cafe. but I haven't managed to go yet, so I'm really excited to go and have a coffee.
Yeah,
when
if
I'm
you
back.
don't go, then you're fooling yourself, Ryan. You're fooling yourself. Proof Rock's another good one, bit of an institution over there. I was bummed that when I went there, I didn't go to Calico.
Calico,
it was made. I didn't like think of it. I had heard of it prior to going, but then I didn't think of it while I was there. And some people told me like, "Man, you didn't go to Calico." I was like, damn it. So yeah, it's plenty of good. I actually think that London's got spoiled for choice for coffee these days.
For sure.
And you and I had a really interesting conversation about sort of the inverse parallels between Melbourne and London. It's like we kind of thrive with coffee culture over there, but in London you thrive particularly with pub culture. I love pubs over in England.
Yeah, like people interact with cafes in Melbourne, how people interact with pubs in London, in not every way, but I'm noticing those kind of parallels, like you say.
Why is a Guinness so much better in London than Melbourne?
Because you're closer to Dublin, where it's made. It's as simple as that. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you want the best one, just pop over to Ireland, go to Dublin, have a Guinness there, blow your mind. I mean, anywhere in Ireland, I feel like I've had the best Guinness, but yeah, it's good because it's close to home. But actually, they make it in South Australia now. So that's the Guinness you drink here is no longer. It used to be imported from Dublin. It was all made from there, but the demand got pretty big here. So yeah,
it's definitely growing in popularity. Guinness here, massively growing in popularity here. I've never been a huge fan, I must say. A bit heavy, but it's just got that creamy foam that it looks good. It looks like something you want to drink.
It does. Yeah. No, I do. I am partial to a few Guinness.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it'll be good to be back in the UK. Remind myself of that scene. There is a coffee festival happening in the UK next month, which is its first time it's ever happened.
What's it called?
So it's made by Tom and Saskia, the owners of Batch Baby. It's a cafe in de Beauvoir. And the coffee festival is called Bloom something. I'm going to kick myself for forgetting the name of it. Maybe you can pull it up. It is Bloom. I want to say Bloomfield, maybe.
Bloomsbury? Bloomtown. Bloomtown Coffee Festival.
Forgive me, it's the first time it's ever happened.
Okay, so if you're in London or Europe, you can attend Bloomtown, not sponsored.
Yeah, but actually you should, because the lineup of roasters they have is phenomenal. Like Tom and Saskia built Batch Baby off coffee community, but by bringing the European coffee community to London. And not just that, they feature every roaster under the sun pretty much.
Well, I'm looking at the Instagram now, which posts some of the exhibitors. So what have you got here? 3 Marks Coffee, Nomad Coffee, Tannet. I can't read that one, the cursive. Rush, Nush, Mock Coffee, Swevin, Dak, Juicy, Standout Coffee. I love Standout Coffee. Lucid and Datura, is that?
Yeah, I mean, they've managed to get all of these roasters on board. So the owners are coming over, they're going to be brewing. And it's really just to realign the coffee festival scene with coffee.
Yeah.
Which sounds funny, but for those of us in the industry, we know that sometimes coffee festivals don't always perfectly align with the coffee scene. Sometimes it expands a little bit beyond it. And we're noticing these themes. There was the coffee weekend last year here in Melbourne. It was entirely coffee orientated. It was a bunch of Japanese roasters that came for that particular one. That's happening again, I think, in November, December time this year in Melbourne. And yeah, it's really cool to see a stripped back version of what a coffee festival is these days, where it's just all about the coffee and all about that experience.
Well, I think you perhaps shouldn't comment on this, but what I'm about to say, I'll say exclusively as myself. All opinions are my own. I think what's really hurt the Australian sort of exhibition scene is the competitions and the Melbourne International Coffee Expo divorcing. So it used to be at the Melbourne Showgrounds, and I really enjoyed it when I was out there. So, and the national barista championships were always held there. And then it moved down to the Melbourne Expo Centre, whatever it's called. And unfortunately, since the World Barista Championship, there's no longer competitions held there, or at least not sanctioned SCA competitions. They're usually other informal ones that aren't as good viewing, in my opinion. And you know, I really hope that one day they can one day they can bring that back together, because I know it was enormously and prohibitively expensive for the association here to be a part of, which is essentially why they don't do it anymore. But I would love to see MICE, the Melbourne International Coffee Expo, reunite with the coffee competition, because I think that's where the grassroots kind of feel came from. And they have made effort in having the roasters playground and things like that. And I think that's a good positive step forward. And it's like a good way to give roasters access. And, you know, I like that. But I think, you know, it's just, I found it so good when you could go do a round of coffee and just caffeinate yourself to near death, go have like a 1 hour recuperation, watch a few barista competitions, and then go back and do it all again. I want to see that come back. So, you know, if you're listening and you're a key stakeholder making these decisions, and I've got a really good relationship with Asker, but yeah, I'd love to see those two reunite, because they both build off each other. And if you're a business that can kind of do some moving and shaking and donate some money to sponsor, well, not donate, if you can sponsor, I would love to support you in that as well. So, you know, we'll give you a shout on the pod. Because I love the Australian barista competition scene, and I think it's actually going from strength to strength right now.
Yeah, it's essential to what makes the Australian coffee scene so good, right? It's like, it's such a big part of it. And yeah, obviously, like, congrats to Jack, who won the last World, and you know, he fully deserved that. Like, what an accomplishment it was.
Yeah,
but you know, it's the work that he's doing, and everyone else that's competing, you know, everyone else that you know, will like narrowly miss out. These competitors are what levels up the industry and levels up the game.
Yeah, and it creates, like, I don't mind saying these public things anymore. I'm a bit more confident as a podcaster and a person, but it can create some heat, and I'm sure I'll get some backlash from some people for this. But I think it's a conversation we need to publicly have, and you know. And not in a deconstructive or damaging way, but so let's try and bring these parties back together, because we've produced 3 World Barista Champions in 10 years, which is better than any other country's done in the last 10 years. We're an epicenter for coffee excellence. And I just don't think I think we need to keep that standard of competitions. And Asker, to their credit, have actually done great in the last couple of years with the community coffee championships. I think they've really read the room there in terms of getting more participation. And I think it's like having that highly credible nationals competition where people can come and attend and be a part of and be immersed in. I think there's enormous value in having that come back. And, you know, I want to be on the record as someone that's like trying to publicly reunite these people back together, because again, you know, we've produced in the last 5 years in the last 4 years 2 World Barista Champions, Anthony Douglas and Jack Simpson, you know, best in the world, and that was the last year in 2022 when Anthony won. That the competitions were there. That was the world competition, mind you. What an event that was! Were you here for that?
No, I wasn't. I didn't get to see it.
It just absolutely rocked the town. But anyway, so I'm hoping we can get those things.
Yeah, and it's exciting to see like who comes next. You know, who are the next people that are coming up through the ranks. I think, you know, definitely something that I've always noticed is that sometimes the competition side of the coffee industry maybe isn't as reflective as the like actual barista scene in the coffee industry. And I think that's maybe just an issue of making it more accessible. And that's exactly what Asker did with the community coffee champs, is just giving people a chance to practice. Because really, if you're going to win a competition, you need to have lost a few first. You know, you don't just win the first one. You don't win a tennis major without having lost a bunch before that, right? And I think what we need to do is make sure that people feel comfortable coming into it, and just making it a bit more of an approachable space. You know, we want to see like, there's definitely as well like more women in competitions as well. Like we want to see queer community representation, which doesn't really happen as much. And I think that's like can happen at these coffee community champs and can be the next step into seeing that happen on a more global stage, you know?
Yeah, well, I think, definitely making it something that everyone wants to participate in more because it's such a wonderful industry because we welcome everyone, and that's one of the best things about the coffee industry. But yeah, I think I'd love to see that strengthened. And you know what, I was just thinking as well, like part of one of the knocks on coffee competitions, if I have any, is that there's not really any opportunity to warm up in a meaningful way, in my opinion. Like you do practice runs, but there should be like practice heats, for example, where like, I don't know, like in Formula One, for example, they have free practice 1, free practice 2, free practice 3, where you actually get to go and get some reps. And I think one of the struggles with barista competitions is like you get one regional and one national, done. Like you get 2 opportunities in a calendar year maybe to compete or like present what you've done on stage. And I think I want to see more warm-up rounds in the weeks leading up to competition, so you can kind of like
get a feel for it.
Yeah, get a feel for it, iron out, because nothing really prepares you for when you're up there. Like it's very difficult. And so
yeah, I saw. Do you know what's funny on that topic? Like, kind of aligned with it is that I saw a football coach. I think it was maybe Jimmy Bullard, who's an ex-Wigan football player. I saw him go over to the fans at an end of a game recently and ask the fans in like the main stand of the stadium if they could stay, because he wanted his players to practice a penalty shootout with the noise of a crowd behind them.
Exactly.
And it was a hilarious situation, but they did. The fans stayed and they practiced a few penalties. And that's like a prime example. If you don't get to kind of create that environment regularly, and these barista competitors, they'll go up on stage, it'll be a silent room full of people and cameras on them, and that can be a bit daunting. So just give them more opportunity to feel comfortable in that space.
Yeah.
Even with people there, and who knows, we can elevate everyone's game a little bit more.
Yeah. 100%. Usually at the end, we'll wrap it up shortly, but usually at the end of the podcast, I get the guests to ask me a question now. So, I mean, if you've got anything at the top of mind, anything you want, Ryan, anything you want, have you got a question for old Uncle Kirk?
Yeah, okay. I would say what is your favorite coffee order right now? If like you find yourself the past month, what have you been gravitating towards? And also maybe where? And then B, do the same for like food. Like, what's your coffee? What's your food? I like talking food a lot.
All right, coffee. Well, the way Core Coffee, again, to bring them up, the way they make a long black Americano is very interesting to me, because it's usually an Americano and or long black is double espresso on top of water, right? But the way they do it is just like one long continuous extraction, but they pressure profile it, I guess you will, on a decent espresso machine. I just think that's a really unique way of making coffee. It's definitely, and a really unique way to enjoy espresso as well. And he uses like fantastic coffees as well. So I'd have to say that's like one of my favorite things to drink right now in terms of coffee. And you really can't get it anywhere else. So he's crushing it with that.
True.
Danny and Michael doing that.
They also do, I don't know if you've tried the cold brew sparkling water.
Yes.
It's so good.
Yeah, no, they do a fantastic job of that. And in terms of food, I'm a curry guy. I'm a massive curry guy.
Yeah, true. I knew that.
Yeah, like I went to my favorite restaurant last night again, Spice Mix in Brunswick East. And that's like this, I'm probably going to get this wrong, so forgive me, but they do this like Hakka style food. So I think it's like a blend of like Nepalese, Indian, and Chinese food, all in one. So there's this like these veggie Manchurian fried pakora balls, I think they're called.
Nice.
So they fry it, then they make this like spicy gravy that they put on top. It's just unbelievable. My mouth's watering just. And the way they make a malai kofta as well, which is again these like vegetable balls. And then they have this gravy, but the way they do it is like cream, garlic, and dill. Yeah. Oh my God.
Mate, that sounds so good.
So good. You get one of those and a butter naan. Gun to my head, last meal ever, malai kofta with a couple of butter naans from Spice Mix. It's so good.
I hear you.
Like I'm such a fan of Indian food.
Yeah.
I always have been. I used to work at an Indian restaurant delivering Indian food. But just gun to my head, last meal on earth, Spice Mix, Indian, best food ever. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I'm the same. I'm with you on the curry side of things, definitely.
What's your last meal on earth?
Yeah, I think like it's hard not to say a curry. And do you know what? Like maybe I prefer Pakistani curry.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's tough. And yeah, I feel like I don't know. I've had some great Indian curries, of course, but there's just something. There's also Barbecue Lounge on Lygon. Little shout out to that restaurant. There's one of my favorite curries in Melbourne. That is a Pakistani restaurant. And just the curries are so good. They're so spicy, which is hilarious.
Yeah,
I know, like, of course they are to me, but yeah, they're so good. So I probably would have to say, if I pick my last meal, it's probably going to be some kind of curry.
For real?
I think so. I think I'm going like, maybe a mixed grill.
Yeah.
You get the naans, you get a curry, you dip in, you're eating with your hands. I'm into it.
Well, that's the thing. If you get a thali, a thali, I've got another place. I've got a city spot that I go to called Delhi Streets, and you get a thali. There's like 3 different curries, a naan bread, some rice, some vegetables. Absolutely phenomenal. Sidebar: Ethiopian food.
Oh yeah.
There's a place called The Horn in Melbourne. Ethiopian food is like so goddamn tasty and complex. And the way they do it with their injera bread as well.
Injera bread, man, is so good.
You get like it's like this. If you haven't had it before, it's like this spongy kind of bread that it's fermented over I don't know how long, but it almost has this kind of like citrusy, acidic aftertaste,
almost sourness to it.
Yeah,
and I think that's the fermentation, surely.
Yeah, but like you get some curries like Ethiopian. Would you call them curries? Yeah. And they're just. The way they make it is there's this giant big platter and they place all the curries and stuff like onto the injera. There's like one big giant injera and it soaks up all the juices. So, but then you've got another side of injeras that you have on like to eat the curry normally. Then at the end, you've got that soaked up injera to eat. Oh, phenomenal.
Yeah, shout out Ethiopian food. But look, we're still keeping it in the curry family. I think we're pretty consistent on that. I mean, yeah, Sri Lankan curries as well are pretty amazing.
They excel real well too. I've got a Sri Lankan spot that I go to as well. But yeah, just Ethiopian food's phenomenal. And I encourage anyone listening to this, if you see an Ethiopian restaurant, go try it. The Horn in Melbourne is the one that I frequent the most. They do a jazz band there on a Thursday and a Sunday evening. So how
good.
Yeah, so you when you get back from England, we'll go. It's just down the road from our place, so
nice.
Go have a couple of schooners and go have some injera.
Sounds like a plan.
But yeah, thanks again everyone for listening. Thanks for coming on, Ryan, on short notice as well. I had to get it done before you go away. But
mate, thanks for having me.
We'll wrap it up there. Thanks again to our sponsors. You hear our Oatly ad read exiting this, and thanks. Thanks for all your support of the podcast and of my business. It's been wonderful. So we'll wrap it up there, folks. Ryan Caisley, Zach Schneider's personal barista.
That'd be me.
Hey, everyone. Hey, Rick. You can either listen to the third Oatly ad of the day about how you can go to oatly.com and find recipes for the amazing drinks, or read the Future of Taste report. It's from the future. Or learn about the sustainability work. Or you can press the 15-sec forward button on your Podplaying device. It's totally up to you.